Welcome back to another episode of the All Takes No Whiffs podcast. I'm Alex, that's Christian, and we got another great boxing episode for y'all this week. We'll be back with baseball later on in the week too. We are excited to get back into that, talk about all those free agent signings. But before we get started for this episode, make sure y'all make sure y'all subscribe, and make sure y'all turn on notifications to know when we post new content.
Yes, sir. For this week's episode for boxing, we are going to be recapping Terence Crawford versus David Avanesyan. Excuse that again. We're also going to be getting into Teofimo Lopez versus Sandor Martin. And we're also going to be talking about the card that was full of prospects that we definitely have kept an eye on. And we're also going to be recapping Inoue versus Paul Butler. That was definitely something. But as for this weekend of boxing, we're going to be previewing a really solid fight between a couple of prospects. You got Michel Rivera against Frank Martin. That's going to be a fight to look forward to, but let's get into it. One of the world's best fighters got back into the ring this past weekend. Not against the guy that we've been hoping for, but, he did his thing. You had Terence Crawford back in the ring against David Avanesyan, and Crawford put in work. He got touched up a little. Avanesyan, he's a puncher. That was a little expected. Crawford's a counter puncher. So there's those moments that it happened. But, there was levels, and those were shown. Bud, still Bud. Father Time is not close to him right now. He's still at the top of his game, in my opinion. And the knockout. God damn. That was a clean combination. And Avanesyan was out. Like, that shit put him out. He was down bad from that, but it was really nice to see Bud in action. But you know what I got to say.
Yeah, this is actually, even though it only lasted 6 rounds, I mean, this was actually a pretty decent fight. I mean, Avanesyan, he was touching Crawford up at times. He landed the very first big shot of the fight in the first round. He landed a nice right hook on Crawford, and I think it kind of woke Crawford up. He was like, oh shit, this guy's actually here to fight. And he actually did bring it to him pretty good throughout the entire fight. I mean, he landed at least one good shot on Crawford each round. In the 5th round, and that's the round I really think Crawford started to turn it on. I mean, he just looked unreal in that 5th round, and that 6th round, that combination to knock him out it was brutal. Lights went out right away. The way we looked at it from the broadcast, you really couldn't see what happened, but when they showed that side angle on it, I mean, that was just a beautiful combination, and his lights went out right away. That was just a beautiful job by Crawford, and I mean, Bud is back, and it's going to be hard not to put him maybe up there at number 1. Inoue may have a little question or say in that, but I mean, Bud's back, and I'm so happy to see him dominate that fight.
I feel that, and to extend on the point about the combination itself, that landing a right hook as Avanesyan was throwing, Avanesyan just turned right into that, and that's just a recipe for disaster if you're on the bad end for that. And yeah, that it was real smooth. I'm just it got me hyped. I'm not gonna lie. It is good to see Bud back, but now that he's back, stay active and give us the biggest fight in boxing, please. That's all I'm hoping for from Bud next. That's all, the only thing that we should be asking for
It's
is
the only thing
boxing
that
fans.
matters
Mhm.
for Bud, at least.
Yeah, I've heard Bud say that he doesn't need Spence. You kind of do,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, because as accomplished as Terence Crawford is, a lot of the greatest fighters of all time. Yeah, we see their accomplishments, what belts they collected, and everything like that. How many divisions that they've won championships in. But when people talk about career-defining moments, it's who they fought, those moments in those fights. Like when we're talking about Muhammad Ali's career-defining moment, that's him upsetting George Foreman. Nobody's talking about, oh, that's Ali winning the heavyweight title. Yeah, because when we're talking about these great fighters, of course they were champions. Of course they had all that stuff. But then what we really discuss is those, like, the best of the best coming together and seeing who comes out on top. So I really feel like Bud definitely needs Spence, but vice versa too. Like, this isn't like a mountain only for Bud to climb. If both of them want to reach greatness, they both got to clash.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on with all that. I mean, there's not much more I can say to that. I mean, we all want to see that. I mean, the whole boxing world wants to see Crawford versus Spence. Even the casual fans want to see Crawford versus Spence. I mean, as soon as that 12th round, or not 12th round, as soon as that the fight ended after he knocked him out, they're starting to get ready to have the judges and everything. One of the announcers said, "I hope Errol Spence is watching," and I mean, that's all the boxing world wants. I mean, literally as soon as the fight was over, that was the first thing that came out of the announcer's mouth is Crawford versus Spence. I mean, the whole world wants it. I want it. You want it. Let's make it happen. I really want to see it happen. Hopefully it'll happen early next year. I honestly don't know if it will, but let's hope. Let's just hope and pray.
All we can do is hope, but they got to get it done. And you guys need it. Both of them need it. But yeah, as far as Bud's card though, it was entertaining. Really good fight from Crawford, and make that fight next. That's all I gotta say. But another guy who has made a return to a ring. I have my opinions on this guy, but I think he's a very talented fighter. Yeah, Teofimo Lopez back in the ring in a competitive fight against Sandor Martin. Ended up in a split decision. I bet, to be honest with you, a lot of people did not expect this fight going this way, but that's goes to show a little how underrated Sandor Martin is. He's coming off a victory from against Mikey Garcia before this fight, and put up a solid fight this time around. I feel like Martin was really fighting off the back foot. Teofimo pressing it. Um, Teofimo definitely got touched up though. At the same time, I feel like he definitely controlled the fight, but it wasn't impressive. It was not impressive in my opinion.
It was not impressive, and I'm going to be real honest. I wouldn't have been surprised if they gave the fight to Martin or Martin, however you say his last name. I don't know which way it is, but um, I mean Lopez just didn't look sharp. I don't know really what it was out there. It's not like he was kind of coasting to the end, but he just didn't look like he had that motor. And there was a bunch of people even questioning after the fight, does Teofimo still have it? I mean, there was one picture I know that went around Instagram and all of social media that caught Teofimo Lopez saying, "Do I still got it?" He addressed that afterwards and said that that was nothing. But I mean, that is kind of alarming from a guy who's under 25 years old and one of the best up and coming boxers. I mean, when he addressed it, it made it seem a little better. But I would have liked to seen a little better performance out of Teofimo. Didn't get anything out of his dad, Christian. His dad, nothing happened with him, so that was a good thing.
It's always a good thing when his dad's not speaking on television. So yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. Even though he addressed it, Alex, I do feel like it's still alarming.
No, it
Uh,
definitely is.
Definitely, he's in his own head like that at this point in his career. He's already had a ton of ups and downs, and the last thing a fighter I think really wants to do is to question their ability, because that is a huge confidence blow to your confidence. Trusting in a fighter's ability, that's key. If you're going in not fully confident that you can do what you got to do, it's going to be a bad time most times, especially against elite fighters. So that's got to get situated for sure for Tiafimo. I feel like, to really progress, get back on track. And yeah, I wasn't necessarily impressed with this fight, to be honest with you. But he got the win. He got the win. He doesn't have 2 losses on his record already. So I guess that's good for him. What do you think you want to see next from him?
I was honestly just about to ask you the same thing because I'm really don't know where I see Tiafimo going after this. I don't really know who he can fight. I know that there's going to be some people who are going to be moving up to 140 here soon. But I mean, they still have fights, so that wouldn't matter anyway. But I mean, I really don't know who I want to see him fight next. I don't think he's in line for a title shot. Um, this was a 10-round fight, not a 12-round fight. I know in last week's episode I had it for 12 rounds, but it was actually 10. That's my bad. But I don't know. I really don't know. What do you think?
Um, See, I don't necessarily promote taking like a a tune-up fight at this point of a fighter's career when they're
I
at
think
that
he
elite
needs
level.
one.
I think he needs another one. I think he needs a fight, but at the same time, I think it needs to be like between a tune-up fight and like a an elite fighter. It
Yeah.
needs to be something like that because he needs to be pushed, but at the same time, he needs to find what he feels like he's missing.
Another Sandor Martin or Martin. Like this
Yeah.
would be like another guy like him. I think would be pretty good to be honest.
hmm Honestly, if they were able to
Rematch?
rematch, yeah, do something like that, and Teofimo bouncing back strong, possibly getting a stoppage or a dominant win over Martin, I think that would be ideal for him because he definitely needs to situate what he's got going on. He feels like he's questioning his own ability. He's got to go out and find that, and that's really the next key. I don't want to throw out any names that might be a little too like pushing a little too ahead. But yeah, he can't fight like a. He'd get whooped by Josh Taylor. I feel like if he went into that for his next fight, but I don't think that fight wouldn't necessarily be able to be made. So, Tiafimo, don't get ahead of yourself. Find it before you take the next step. That's all I gotta say.
No, I totally agree with that. And I mean, he's one of the best young fighters out there. I don't want to see him question himself. Most boxers are out there. I mean, you see them, all the confidence in the world, even all fighters. I mean, that's what you'd love to see out of them. And definitely was not something I was expecting to see out of Teofimo Lopez, especially with how confident him and his dad are and have been throughout their entire career. So it's a little worrisome, but I think he'll get back on track and everything. But move on to some of the prospects that were on this card. I don't even know if you can call this guy a prospect anymore because he just looks so good and he's dominating every fight he's out there. But Jared Big Baby Anderson, he knocked out Jerry Forrest in the second round. I kind of liked what I saw from Anderson in this, even though it only went about a round and a half. He got touched up a little bit. He took a nice right hand to the chin, ate that shit, but he looked good. His punches were crisp. Uh, this dude is just taking the next step every single fight. He called out some really good names in the top 15 in the heavyweight division. Not those top guys, but some of those guys in the later half of the top 15. And I'd love to see him make up some of those matches with him. What do you think about this, Christian?
A big baby on the way up. I can't wait to see him get to the top because it's. I really would like to look forward to a dominant American heavyweight. Since Deontay Wilder is more so on the back end of his career, he's kind of on the way out. So that position would be wide open for Big Baby. Jared Anderson definitely got that, in my opinion. He's the future of American heavyweights. And next, I think another step up, maybe getting one of those guys in the top 15. I don't want to rush him, of course, but I think he's ready. I think he's ready to break that top 15. And sooner or later, he's about to be, competing for a world title. I'm really looking forward to him.
Any of those names right there in the top 15 you want to see him fight?
This might be a bit of a stretch for his next fight, but I want to see him get into the ring with this guy soon. Frank Sanchez, I feel like that'd be a wild matchup. The styles, they'd mix up interesting because Frank, even though he's a heavyweight, he's a boxer, a slick boxer. And then you got Jared Anderson. He's an attacker. He's a puncher. He seeks to destroy. So I feel like we would see Aaron Anderson chasing Frank around, but at the same time, I think that's a big risk to make that fight. Anderson could easily lose to a decision if Frank's on top of his game. I don't think that'd be ideal for Top Rank. Big Baby is one of their up and coming high profile names, so that might be a little too soon. But then you got guys like Philip Hergovich. His name's been thrown around. I don't necessarily think he's too good, so I think that's more ideal for Jared Anderson. Get a guy who's easy work that'll shoot you up the rankings a good bit. So that's what I think is up next for him.
Yeah, I'm thinking Philip Hergovich, to be honest. Hergovich, he was kind of that next up and coming guy, and then his last fight against I can't think of his name, the big Asian guy. I can't think of his name right now,
Oh, I know.
but yeah, I can't think of his name, but did not look very good against him. Honestly, thought he lost that fight, but I think that would be a really good test for Big Baby right here. That would he'd probably, like you said, win that fight pretty easily. I think Anderson is a lot better than Hergovich, but it's just one of those guys in the top 15, and definitely would be one of those names that could get him up that list even higher now. So I'm really excited to see what this guy is got for us next year.
Yes, sir. Another prospect that had an appearance this weekend. You had Xander Zayas returning to the ring. He faced Alexis Salazar Flores, and he won by unanimous decision. Wasn't necessarily impressed though. Xander, it kind of looked like it was just another fight. Didn't see any big steps taken, but he did his thing, got the dub, and even though there wasn't a big step in that sense, that's another win on his record on the way up.
Yeah, the scorecard doesn't make it look as good as the fight was. The fight wasn't very pretty. Zayas got touched up a bit. He did enough to win each round, but I mean, this guy is just one of those up and comers. He's super young. I just think this was a good test for him. Even the announcers during the fight were like, "This is Zayas is one of his best tests so far," and they can see why he was struggling a little bit because his defense just wasn't very good, honestly, in this fight, and that's typically something he's pretty good at, to be honest. So that was a little weird to see, but like Christian said, he got the dub, and that's all that matters. He's still got a 0 next to that loss column, so that's all that really matters for right now.
Yeah, exactly. So Xander, my opinion on him hasn't dropped really. I just feel like this could be a little bit of a fluke, maybe. He's still on the way up, and he's got a ton of potential. So unlocking that's still definitely something to come, and I can't wait for that. But another up and coming prospect that we had on this card. This is one that I'm really high on. Keyshawn Davis. He was up against Juan Carlos Burgos, I guess. And he did his thing, won by unanimous decision. Keyshawn Davis, he's so polished like at this point in his career, and you definitely got to give credit to his amateur experience in that sense. He was a properly built amateur, and he's full of talent at the same time. But I feel like he's just really, really good at selecting his punches. Really efficient. He no wasted movement, and it's really good to see that this early in his career. But as somebody who has a decorated amateur background, I'm really looking forward to him taking a step relatively soon because I think he's got it like that. He's a fighter, and he is a really above average fighter already. I just want to see him get that experience before I could really say elite. But he's got that sort of potential all over.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's gonna take too long for him to get a title shot eventually. His record doesn't have that many wins right now, but I mean, he's gonna shoot his way up that division very quickly. What I saw from him this fight, I really liked. I mean, this dude, I mean, he is super crisp with his punches, and just picks when he wants to. I mean, like you said, he's super polished, and like the next guy we're going to talk about too. I mean, these were two of the best fights on this entire card, and they were the first two. So I mean, sometimes these cards, the main event ain't going to be the best fight, and sometimes it's the fights that are only like 8 rounds that are going to be pretty good too. So I mean, you got to tune into some of these fights before the main event. Sometimes this was a really good showing for Keyshawn Davis. I loved what I saw from him.
I feel that. And before we move on to that next guy, real quick, one of my favorite things about Keyshawn is how calm he is. You notice that?
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
I never
He
see
never looks nervous. He doesn't look like he's panicked, or even when he gets hit.
never
Sometimes,
panicked.
dude just looks he's cool, calm, and collected in the ring the entire time.
Exactly. But as for this next guy that had another exciting fight, you had Delonte Tiger Johnson returning to the ring. He was up against Michael Hahn Jr. and got the TKO in the 5th round. And I'm not going to lie, I tuned in a little late. So I want to see your thoughts on this, Alex, as somebody who watched it.
I mean, it's kind of like the Keyshawn Davis fight. I mean, this dude is just super polished. I mean, this dude's hand speed's ridiculous too. He did get touched up at times in the fight, but I mean, this dude is one of my favorite young guys right now. I said this last week. Christian even said it. This is probably my favorite prospect on the top ranked out of the top ranked prospects, and I'm super excited to see where this guy can go. This was his first eight round fight too. It only gone up to 6 before. It didn't really matter because it only went 5, but I'm super excited to see where this guy goes next. I think he's gonna probably get a title shot quicker than he probably expected to, but a couple more fights for that for him.
Tons of potential from Tiger Johnson. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's up next for him. But that does it for the top rank card. That was a really exciting card, even though the main event, didn't really cap it off. But this past Tuesday, we had an undisputed fight. You had the monster Naoya Inoue up against Paul Butler for the undisputed bantamweight title. Not the opponent you'd expect for an undisputed fight for Inoue, but it went 11 rounds. And on paper, you'd see that and be like, why did it take that long for Inoue to get the win? But Paul Butler was on defense mode that whole time. He was
He
trying to
wanted to
survive.
survive. Yep.
Survival mode. That's I don't know why I didn't think of that. But yes, he was on survival mode the whole time, guard up the whole time. Inoue just playing games with him and then putting him out viciously. That was definitely entertaining in that sense. What's next for Paul Butler, Alex? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh my God, this was honestly a really entertaining fight, even though it was super one-sided in Inoue's favor. It was super early this morning, so I got my sleep and I watched it a little later. But this was an entertaining fight. Inoue in the third round, I thought he could have finished it in the third round. He had Butler up in the corner, but kind of got saved by the bell. I mean, I could go round by round and say he could have almost ended it in every round, but the fifth round, he really started to turn it on again. I really don't remember too many times Butler got a shot off on it Inoue. He, like Christian said, was literally in straight up survival mode for the entire fight. Even Timothy Bradley Jr. said in the ninth round, he goes, Butler's here to survive. He ain't here. He's just here not to get knocked out. He just wants to survive, which, I mean, that's okay and everything, but I mean, Inoue literally was just playing with him. A fifth round, he literally just stopped in the middle of the ring and was just staring at him, jumping back and forth, waiting for Butler to do something, and Butler wouldn't do shit. The sixth round or seventh round, it looked like he kind of tried an ollie shuffle type of thing. He shuffled his feet and then landed a nice little punch, but it looked really cool. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really know if it was an ollie shuffle or if he planned on doing that, but he was just trying things out. He went southpaw at one point. I didn't even know he fought southpaw, so I guess he was just trying to figure some new things out to do because he looked bored. Like it was just crazy. I've never really seen a fighter just really just coast the entire fight and not punch.
Paul Butler, man. I guess he thought his strategy would have worked out, but unfortunately in boxing, you got to throw punches to beat your opponent.
Who
So
would have thought of that?
yeah, maybe go with the team, discuss it, and ask for a rematch.
I don't think he wants a rematch.
No, because if he did
The way he
engage
got beat
more, he would
down
have
that
been put out
entire
earlier.
fight. Oh my God. No,
He would
yeah,
have
you're right.
He would have been put out way earlier if he engaged. So it's understandable why he was in survival mode because you're up against the monster. Pound for pound, number one in
Literally.
my opinion right now. So yeah, Inoue up next for Inoue. What are you thinking? Because off the top of my head, ideally would be Stephen Fulton, but I think Stephen Fulton plans on moving up to 126 from 122. So yeah, I'm not sure about that.
I'm not really sure then where Inoue goes next. I mean, he's undisputed. If he wanted to, I guess he could move up, but I don't know if he really is big enough for that. I really would love to see him fight Stephen Fulton Jr., but that sucks that he's going to move up. So I guess we'll just have to wait and find out and see. I'm just really impressed with Inoue in this fight. I know I said Shakur Stevenson is my favorite fighter, but Inoue is slowly creeping up on that.
He's like that. His style is just it's destruction but precision and really solid technical ability on top of that. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
And he's very active in the ring. He's not there to sit around and just find when he's gonna punch. He's coming after you, and I love it. I just love it. It's the type of fighter I want to see.
Yeah, Inoue coming a little later on a Tuesday really capped off a solid past weekend of boxing. But for this weekend, not too much going on, but we do have one solid matchup that we thought was worth discussing. Couple of, I would say, advanced prospects. You know, they're not necessarily early in their career, but both of them haven't really taken the big step. You got Michel Rivera against Frank Martin. This is a really solid matchup in my opinion. I've heard a little more about Frank Martin. I know Michel Rivera is Dominican, so I might have to back him up for that fight. But this is interesting to me because I don't know too much about Rivera. A little high on Frank Martin. I do like his ability. So before I get into my thoughts, what do you think, Alex?
To be honest, I'm not really too familiar with either of these guys. So I really don't have too much an opinion on this right now. But I'm looking forward. I am looking forward to this. Both guys are undefeated. I have kind of looked past the fight and seen what Michael Rivera has said, and dude's already calling out Tank. So I'm hoping he wins, and maybe that can happen sometime. But uh, I'm looking forward to this fight. It's gonna be a pretty good fight. Both these guys are undefeated. Both of them have a lot of knockouts, so it's gonna be a good fight.
For sure, going to be a good fight. And to be honest, my heart is telling me to go for Rivera. My mind is telling me Frank Martin is about to win this fight. I'm pretty sure Frank Martin is associated with Errol Spence in a way. I don't know if Errol manages him or whatever, but I'm pretty sure they associate in that sense. And I do think Frank Martin has a bright future ahead of him. So I'm not going to give a prediction on this, but I'm going to say I'm kind of leaning towards Frank Martin. I'm just looking forward to this because it's a solid matchup between two guys trying to take that next step.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to this. Didn't really think this would be too much of a fight, but after hearing what Christian said before we started recording, I'm really looking forward to this now. And the undercard should be pretty decent too. There is a shit ton of fights on this undercard. I think there's like, I don't know, maybe 15. The stuff scrolling at the bottom of the screen doesn't even show every single fight that's on this card. I think there's like 8 more fights. So gonna be one long card on Showtime this Saturday night. So get ready for a long night of boxing.
Ain't nobody complaining about that, but you know, it's all good. Another weekend of boxing to look forward to. This past weekend was a banger. I'm really glad that we got a few big names in the ring, and they did their thing. No upsets. I'm not going to say that's a good thing, but you know it's nice to see these guys execute and do what they have to do.
Yeah, and all those guys came out and did what they had to do. And I just wanted to mention from the Bud Crawford card, Chris Cyborg, she won her pro debut. She actually knocked down Holloway in the second round, ended up getting a unanimous decision through 4. Jeremiah Milton went to 7-0 or 8-0, easy win for him. And Steven Nelson, easy knockout for him. So just wanted to throw those names out there because those are 3 people maybe to look forward to in the future of boxing.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, it's good to shine light on up and comers. Then you got Chris Cyborg, a legend in one sport, coming over to this one, and yeah, it's dope to see. But looking forward to what's happening for them in their future, and looking forward to this weekend of boxing coming up.
And that does it for another episode of All It Takes No Whiffs podcast. This was another great episode talking about some great fights from last weekend. Seeing where some of these big names are going to go next. Bud Crawford and Inoue. Kind of questionable where they're going right now. We don't have a clear next fight for them, but super looking forward to where they're going to be going next. And previewing the Michel Rivera and Frank Martin fight, which should be a banger this weekend. Two guys who are undefeated, pretty good knockout rate. So we're really looking forward to that. But before we get out of here, make sure y'all make sure y'all subscribe, make sure y'all turn on notifications to know when we post new content, and let us know who you want to see Bud Crawford fight next or Inoue, and also let us know who you think is going to be winning the fight we previewed for this weekend.
And if you want, you guys can also let us know your thoughts on that on any of our social medias. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at ATNW Podcast. If you want, you could find my personal Instagram and Twitter at Christian_S52.
And you can find mine at ahindy2215.
That does it for another boxing episode. Looking forward to next week. Peace.
Peace.